What you watch depends on what kind of mood you're in. Sometimes you're craving comedies like Friends or South Park, and sometimes you're more into dramas like HBO's Succession and House of the Dragon. There's also cooking shows like Chopped and Beat Bobby Flay, and even movies like The Lord of the Rings and Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Well, Max is the streaming destination that has the best of entertainment for whatever mood you're in anytime. And plans start at as little as $9.99 a month. Max, the one to watch. Subscription required. Visit max.com.
Walk the dogs, school drop-off, meetings from 10 to 3, take kids to soccer, then no time left for a jog.
When everyone else is relying on you, it's easy to put your needs last. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online, so you can show up for yourself the way you do for others. Visit BetterHelp.com/positive to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/positive.
Sports Daily is on KFH.
Welcome back, everybody. It's Sports Daily on a Tuesday. Tommy Castor and Paul Savage, Chad Chambers producing the show. Been talking about Brian Green, the new head coach for Shocker Baseball, officially announced yesterday. A press conference will be held tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 at X Stadium to officially introduce Brian Green as the new head coach of Shocker Baseball. And we will have Coach Green right here on Sports Daily Thursday morning at 10:25. So make sure to set an alarm on your phone or put it in your calendar. That way you can hear that interview as we talk to the new head man for Shocker Baseball. The IHOP hotline is open, 869-1240. Let's go to the IHOP hotline right now. Scott is on the line, got some thoughts on Shocker Baseball. Scott, good morning. What's on your mind?
I'm not trying to knock the hire, but I'm in my mid-40s, grew up with Shocker Baseball, loved it. Obviously, when I was a kid, going to baseball camps, and I think I kind of agree with what everybody probably feels the same, and I don't understand why Lauren Hibbs wasn't given more of a shot. But I mean, if you look, and like I said, not to knock Kevin Green right off the bat, but I just don't. I'm not sure I really get this hire. Like, his record is barely above 500 at Washington State, who's not sure I've ever seen them in the College World Series or Super Regional or anything, and to barely be above 500. Like I said, Kevin Saul, I'm sure, has got a good plan. I'm not really sure I get this hire at all. I really don't. Like I said, We'll see where it goes, but I just don't understand why. And hopefully he does keep some guys like Mike Pelfrey around. You know, he's been through the program, brought up through Brent Kimnitz, who's probably, if not the best pitching coach of college baseball of all time. He's got to be right up there. So hopefully he does at least retain some guys on the staff, because other than that, looking at his track record, not sure I really get this hire. But anyway, just like I said, longtime baseball guy in this community for my whole life, and hopefully this turns out the right way. I'm just not quite sure I get this hire.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for the call. Appreciate that. And I think that's kind of the general mindset of the fan base. And that's a really good segue, Paul, into, the other topic in this that I wanted to get to and continue on the discussion. And that is the fan base, right? We can talk about our expectations. We can talk about our timeline, what we expect from Brian Green as the new head coach for Shocker Baseball. We can talk about what Kevin Saul wants to do. And we've discussed that at length, and retaining players and trying to get them to exit the transfer portal and come back, retaining assistant coaches like Mike Pelfrey. All of those things I would think should be on the table as the strategy moving forward, getting Brent Kimnitz to, champion this move and go and talk to donors and that sort of thing. Like, all of those things in my mind are on the table, but the fan base, that's an issue. That's a topic that we have not talked about in relation to this particular hire, Paul. As far as, in your mind, what is it going to take to unify the fan base. And I know that can be an easy answer, right? Winning baseball games, right? But I think that there's got to be a little bit more than that. There's got to be a connection to this fan base who, like Scott mentioned, he grew up watching Shocker baseball in the glory days of Gene Stevenson and all of that. And ever since Stevenson left through the really bad Todd Butler era, and then the Eric Wedge era that was up and down, and now we're into this era right now with Brian Green, the fan base has been left wanting more. They've been left in the dust. We've seen attendance decline. We've seen people not showing up to X Stadium, not supporting this program. I don't think that's the fault of the fan base. I think it's the fault of the program and the university not putting as much of an emphasis on baseball as they should. How does the university and Brian Green and this baseball program get fans back?
There you go. That's the ultimate question. I've been waiting for this question, and let me give you my answer because I think other people may have different answers. I'm going to give it to you step by step by step, if that's all right. My first step is you start bringing in players that we know are really good. Players that show on the field, they're really good. You start bringing those kind of guys in. I'm not talking about, just those guys they're good baseball players, and there's a lot of those kind of guys. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the guys that we have come to know and grow, know and love in baseball lore here at Wichita State. You start bringing those guys in. Then the next little step is now you start winning regular season AAC championships. Then you start winning a few AAC tournament championships. Well, then you get yourself to the worlds. Then you get yourself to the regionals, and you win a few games in the regional. Then you get yourself to a super regional. You see where I'm going with this thing? And then, of course, obviously, You get to the World Series, and eventually you win a World Series or two or three, and then all of a sudden you'll have everybody. But it's got to be fairly quick. It's going to have to be quick. I don't know what the length. Maybe Tommy, the length of the contract for Coach Green.
We don't know that. That's one thing that has not been revealed yet is the length of the contract. We don't know that. We don't know the amount of money yet. We also don't know if there was a buyout that was required to Washington State University and what that buyout amount was that Wichita State would have had to pay Washington State. Those are all three things that as of right now have not been reported on. Right. So we don't know that. We'll find that out. I do want to mention, so on our video stream, of course, like I said at the top of the show, you can leave your comments on the video stream. They'll pop up right up on the screen. Zachary comments and says, we had a coach of the year who appeared to be ready to spend a considerable amount of time with the Shockers, and we traded that for a guy who has jumped ship every time he got a chance. I think to that point, I don't want to fault Coach Green for leaving for better opportunities because I do think that life of a coach, that happens quite a bit. But I do think that there is an active amount of concern, I think is the word, or at least displeasure with the process. And, so Brian Green and Kevin Saul, they've got a little bit of an uphill battle here with this hire to win back the confidence and win back the trust of Shocker faithful, right? And so I think the expectations are there. Look, the bottom line is that if Brian Green, and I'm just going to be very frank here and I'm just going to lay it out on the line.
Please
you tell me if you think I'm ridiculous, Paul.
No, please tell me.
If Brian Green has the same level of success at Wichita State that he had at Washington State or at New Mexico State, he will not last as Wichita State coach.
No,
he's got to do better. He's got to do better than what he did at his two previous stops. Now, he did good. Like, he turned those programs around, but he didn't make the NCAA tournament. That didn't happen. His winning percentage slightly over 500 at Washington State. He had a losing record in Pac-12 play this year. So I understand all of the reasons why he was given the job. Okay, I get that. But he's got to do more than what he did at his previous stops in order, in my opinion, to meet or exceed expectations that the Shocker fan base has and to try to win these fans back.
Well, if you're going to play the game of expectations, But it looks like to me he met expectations of both those places because neither one of those places are going to allow you to do the things that you want to do at Wichita State. You're going to be able to have more success at Wichita State than you will New Mexico State and Washington State.
He got a contract extension at Washington State, and he had a winning percentage slightly over 500 at Washington.
And why is that?
Clearly those expectations at Washington State are lower than what they would be at Wichita State.
Well,
right?
hello, thank you. That is correct. No, that's exactly right. And he if you look at it in those terms, then I guess you've got to classify him as a success.
Sure, at those previous stops.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that if he duplicates that level of success that he had at Washington State, at Wichita State, he's not going to last.
Yeah.
And so it's got to be more. The bar has got to be set higher. And I know that it will be. I'm not doubting that it will be. There's not going to be a situation where Brian Green or Kevin Saul will, if he goes slightly over 500, where they're going to say that's acceptable. The Shockers went slightly over 500 this season under Lauren Hibbs. They were 30-25. That wasn't acceptable. That didn't result in Lauren Hibbs getting the permanent job. So I think those expectations have to be set higher. And what I want to see happen, I don't know how realistic this is, but what I want to see happen is I want to see the fan base, regardless of your feelings of the hire and the way that it was made and not retaining Lauren Hibbs and all of that. At this point, the decision is made. The deal is done. Brian Green is the new coach at Wichita State. Let's rally around him. Let's try to do everything that we can, to help this program get back to a level of excellence where they had been for so long. Let's go back to the Guy Hop hotline, 869-1240. Vince is on the line, has some thoughts on Shocker baseball. Vince, good morning. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, I thought Lauren Hibbs would be a great hire for this, but I think you guys are being very, very optimistic about this hire. I will say that in my mind, if he doesn't get over 500 the first 2 years, Saul's better be looking for another job. I mean, that's just, to me, it's a bad hire.
Do you think, Vince, that this particular hire for Kevin Saul is more critical for him than the basketball hires? Like, do you think that Kevin Saul has tied his fate long-term for his job to Brian Green and having success with baseball?
Well, I don't know that people were real excited about the basketball hire, but this one is just, I mean, everybody's upset over this from the standpoint that Hibbs was the right guy for the job. I mean, he was showing that just as an interim. And so you go outside of that, you get a guy that's unproven, that didn't have the head coach experience that Hibbs had. He wasn't the coach of the year or anything like that. So, I mean, I think he's tying his own job to this hire.
Well, I would guess that would be the case. And I think that's exactly right, Vince. There's no question. He's tying his job to these hires. And do you think he's going to go out and hire some dunderhead that I'm just going to take this guy for the heck of it and tie his job to it? No, there is a reason that Kevin Saul is the AD, and he's going to make decisions, and he's going to put his neck on the line as well as these coaches. You have success at Wichita State, and because of all these particularly these hires, as our buddy Jad Chambers always says, we'll know in a year where we're at with the job that Kevin Saul is doing, and Kevin Saul realizes that. I just have to go back to the fact that I can't seem to sweep under the rug, and that is he's got to have a reason. There's got to be a reason for these hires. I don't know what it is on some of them. But there's got to be a reason. He has confidence in himself. And by the way, this is the most visible hire he's going to make, even with basketball and even with women's basketball. This is big. And like I said, I go back to the fact that every time you drive down 21st Street, you see the success of Wichita State that has not been there for a long time. You look up on the stadium, you see that success. We haven't had it in 10 years. It's got to come back. Why isn't it back? We got some of the finest facilities in the entire country in a great baseball town, and we can't get it back. Now, somebody's got to come get it back. Kevin Saul's putting his job basically on the line, saying, this is my guy. And for that
I don't know. I'm going to interrupt you, Paul, because I don't know if it is Brian Green. And I think that that's Vince's point. I think it very well could be, but I don't know. Nobody really knows if it is. I mean, time will tell. And Vince, thanks for the call. I do know that, the one thing, Paul, is that when it comes to Kevin Saul, and I'll be, like I mentioned before, I'll be the first to admit, I didn't like the move to not retain Lauren Hibbs. That being said, Kevin Saul has been the most aggressive and bold and visible athletic director that Wichita State has had in a long time.
Boy, no kidding.
He's not complacent. He's not settling for the status quo. He's not looking at mediocre results or average results. This is okay. We're just going to keep riding this wave. No, he's going out and he's tying his own fate to some of these hires, whether it's Paul Mills or Terry Nooner or now Brian Green. He is tying his own fate to the hires. And so whether or not you like the hire of Brian Green, and for me, the jury is still out. I want to give the guy a chance, but I don't know. I am grateful for the fact that we have an aggressive athletic director at Wichita State who is willing to go out and put his own neck on the line. Whether or not I like the hire, that's irrelevant at this point. It's done. The guy deserves our support to see how he can build this program. He hasn't even made his way to Wichita yet. So at this point, I'm willing to put aside my thoughts that the move should have never been made. That's done. That's out of the picture. And I do appreciate Kevin Saul's dedication to being aggressive and to trying to meet and exceed those expectations that Shocker baseball and basketball have had for a long time now.
Isn't that what you expect of AD?
Absolutely.
Isn't that what you expect? Because that's what I expect.
For sure.
You put your job on the line every hire. That's the way it's supposed to be.
And it doesn't make him immune to criticism. And I think that we can absolutely be. I think we can be critical if these hires don't work out. We can talk about that and talk about that they were bad decisions. Hopefully that they're not. Hopefully we want to see them succeed, but he is bold enough to put his neck on the line to make those hires, and I do appreciate that. We'll talk more about Brian Green and all that. Of course, like I mentioned, we'll have Brian on the show on Thursday morning to talk about him being the new head coach of Shocker Baseball, so looking forward to that. All right, that's going to wrap up that discussion. On the other side, Shocker basketball and Jayhawk basketball, Wichita State and KU facing off in Kansas City. We'll talk about that and a giveaway on the other side. It's Sports Daily. Tommy Castor, Paul Savage, Jad Chambers coming right back.
Looking for an adventure? Find yours in a Toyota. Like a Camry with stylish design and a reputation for reliability that can't be beat. Or go with a Corolla, both affordable and capable. With so many trims and features to choose from. Or check out the new Crown, presenting you with luxurious style and elegant amenities to make your day a breeze. No matter your adventure, Toyota has you covered. Visit buyatoyota.com for more. Toyota, let's go places.